Well guys, this is a very exciting video because we're introducing young Willow. This is the first time she is making an appearance on the Tia and Shane show. We'll have to actually add Willow's name now. We'll have to be like, it's a Tia-Clair Toomey and Shane Orr and Willow Orr YouTube. What do you think, Brendan? Anyways, but we are going to be just talking about, my journey throughout the pregnancy, where we are at. Willow is almost a month old, which is crazy because I can't even remember life before her. And the last few weeks with her being in our life has definitely been different, but, really enjoyable. And every day Shane and I are like, this is a dream, this is something that we feel like we're going to wake up and she's not actually going to be here because, it just can't be this amazing. So last year at the games, I won, which was amazing. And for me, I look back on that performance and I wasn't satisfied. It was definitely a performance that when I think about my true potential and what I'm capable of doing, I walked away very disappointed regardless of the result. And when Shane and I reevaluate after every season, whether we're going to retire or we're going to keep going, there's always that question. And I definitely knew that straight after the games, there needed to be a change, whether that was me retiring, whether that was me just having some time off, because I'd just come off doing bobsled and going straight into the CrossFit season. I hadn't had a true off season for a couple of years. So I definitely knew I needed a break. And it took me about 2 months to realize that no, I'm not gonna finish on that note. And I'm definitely going to, come back into the 2023 season, with my head just so focused and driven on executing my game plan and, coming back to the CrossFit Games as a force to be reckoned with, essentially. I didn't realize I was pregnant at the time, and I knew that there was something going on with my body. So, being an elite athlete, you have to be really in tune with your body. And I definitely knew that there was something going on, but with having a back injury, there was just so much going on with that I thought that that's what was hindering my mental space, my physical abilities. And I just thought I was just really run down at that time. And so I did this workout, and Brandon actually had to, and you guys, if you have followed on for some time now, you probably remember me doing a workout where it was double Fran. I was in like purple and pink tie-dye Noble clothes. And Brandon actually had to do a bit of editing on that video because I was going so slow. And I finished that workout where I wanted to quit so many times throughout that workout. But because we were filming, I was like, nope, I've got to keep going. I've got to keep commit. And it was at that moment that I was like, there is something seriously wrong with me. Whether it's adrenal fatigue, whatever. I felt like I had to sleep for a whole year to just find my recovery. And it turns out that I was pregnant. And that's when I found out, or that was like the defining moment of like, I got to really figure out what was going on. And I had to go to the doctors and get like blood tests and everything like that done. And it's just really wild to think back, because at the time I just thought I was extremely unfit. I was extremely tired and just worn out. And I was just an emotional wreck. So after that, then Shane, we went to Australia. So we brought the whole Proven team over. We were heading over there for the Down Under Championships, and I was actually meant to compete at the time. But because of the heavy snatch, I wasn't prepared to lift and do a heavy snatch, because I just found out I was pregnant and I didn't really understand or know if that was safe. I felt very confident that I could still work out and I could still maintain a high intensity level because I was so early on in my pregnancy, but I was far along enough that I wasn't sure if lifting heavy was going to be detrimental to my pregnancy or to my health. I also was still carrying a bit of a back injury and it hadn't still yet healed. So when I think back to the Australia trip, Shane and I, no one had known about me being pregnant, and it was just between the two of us, and we hadn't yet even come out to our family because at that point we still were really just so excited, but wanting to just share that between the two of us. And we actually really wanted to be able to tell our family in person so that we could really embrace and see their reactions. So we decided to wait until our Australia trip was over and then share it with our family once we'd seen them in person, and then come out when we, had finally shared it with everyone back home in Australia, and on Christmas Day, because we thought it was a very fitting present to share with the world. So during this time while we were in Australia, I was pregnant, still trying to figure out what I should do. Should I still exercise? Should I still move the body? That type of thing. But we were also putting the Rogue Gym together back home in Australia. So it was really funny because I would always be asking the boys to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And from their standpoint, I can only imagine what was going through their minds, them thinking that I wasn't even lifting a finger, but finally eventually finding out why, because I was expecting. And it's so funny, I look back now and laugh because I wasn't even close to showing, but at the time, because Shane and I had only kept the secret, at that time we had started telling the family, so the family had known, but the rest of the world hadn't. So whenever we were filming, I had to make sure that I wasn't giving anything away, and I was wearing baggy shirts, and I was just hoping that people weren't thinking that I was pregnant or holding anything out on them. So I look back now and think, wow, here I was, just because I had this secret, I thought everyone knew I was keeping something from them, and that I had to overcompensate with wearing big baggy shirts or throwing on oversized jumpers just to make sure that I was hiding my belly. And it's funny because Mum was saying, you're not even showing, it's fine. But in my mind, I genuinely was thinking, I was in that awkward stage of like, is she putting on a lot of weight because she's in the off season, or is she actually expecting? And then fast forward throughout 9 months, which was bananas. And it's funny because I look back and everyone's like, wait till the last 4 weeks. And the 4 weeks approached quite fast, and I still was feeling amazing. I felt like I was moving really well. I definitely was increasing in size, and as I would walk into the gym every single day, people were like, wow, you've grown overnight. And it was really crazy how much you grew significantly over the last weeks of the pregnancy. But I went into labor on a Sunday afternoon. It was funny, Shane was actually at the gym at the time, and I called Brooke and I said, Brooke, make sure you film Shane, because I'm gonna call him because I need him to come home. We need to go to the hospital. And I think I worked out that day. We actually did that running video where I ran for a little bit and did Brandon did a funny little video where it was me running at the games and then, where I was at that, at the end of my pregnancy. Shane picked up, and, Brooke got a video of Shane accepting the call, and, I was like, hey, I think you need to come home. And it was so funny because he was just so excited, and I felt like he was probably telling everyone 3 weeks prior to this phone call, today's the day. It's gonna happen any moment. And I'm telling Shane at home, like, stop telling people this because they're not gonna believe you when it actually happens. But finally went into labor, and my labor was very long. Willow didn't actually drop as low as what we were hoping, or as quick as what we were hoping. And so Going through the contractions as well, I thought contractions meant that, you know, as the further away you are from having the baby, the further the contractions are from, you know, happening. So, you know, for example, I was expecting a contraction to happen for about 45 to 60 seconds. And as you progress throughout your labor, they lengthen from, like, you know, roughly around 60 seconds to even more so to like 90 seconds. And then you would have, you know, say like 20 minutes in between. And as you progress forward, it would go down to, you know, 2 minutes. Well, from that Sunday, my contractions happened like minutes between each other. And it was really bizarre because I hadn't dilated straight away. And that's like, you know, I don't want to go into too much detail because, you know, this is it's quite a lot, but my contractions happened one after another, and I felt like I had been lied to because no one had told me that, hey, you could have a contraction after a contraction, and these contractions can last, or 2 contractions can happen at the same, like one after another. So one of the things that really helped me through this was just Shane massaging my back. At one moment, I know I asked him, you got to move down to my hips, because I felt like I was just in a on a Rogue Rhino machine where I was just had the belt around, and I was on that belt squat machine, and I was just doing marches for like hours on end. And it was funny because there was one moment Shane was massaging my back, and I was actually on one of those bouncy balls, and he was watching a Lakers game, and he stopped massaging halfway through a contraction. And I remember literally thinking to myself, or saying out loud, if you're not gonna massage, just don't even come near me. And that was one thing that we look back and laugh at, because I tried to be as patient as possible, but throughout that contraction, and as they intensified, I definitely was not happy that he was getting preoccupied by the Lakers game. But she eventually came, and I definitely was getting frustrated towards the end because a part of me had been in labor for so long that I just wanted her, you know, in my arms already. So it was really fascinating because I thought, well, I actually didn't know what to expect. So I didn't go in thinking this is exactly how I want, you know, my birth plan to go. I was very open-minded to a lot of things, with the priority of obviously having a very healthy baby and making sure that, you know, I was optimizing my recovery as well, and not being stubborn and wanting it a particular way. So all in all, when I look back on my pregnancy and my birth, I couldn't have asked for a better process. It was so incredible. And getting to experience Shane holding Willow for the very first time, me holding Willow for the very first time, I was an absolute mess. I was crying. I was just so happy. It's one of those things that it's so true. Even though birth can be so painful and very long and tiring, you know, I would do it all over again just to, you know, have her in my arms. And the last 4 weeks have been unbelievable. And I would say last week was the first time that I actually went into the gym to physically move the body. Definitely at a very low intensity, not lifting heavy at all, not even lifting, but just moving the body, because we started walking pretty early on, and that was simply just to get Willow out of the house. And you know, Shane would run, and then I would also just get out into the environment, see, you know, be a part of the trees, and, you know, get some sunshine on my skin. And I thought that was just really healthy. But yeah, I think honestly that's as far as we've got right now. You know, I lose track of time because I'm just holding on to her, like staring at her all day long. But it's definitely been something that I've really tried to embrace, because everyone says, you know, embrace this time. They're only a newborn once in their life, and before you know it, they'll be so grown up, and you know, you'll be looking back and wishing that you embraced it a lot more. So we've definitely been trying to be super present, and we've been trying to be productive as much as we can, but you know, cherishing these moments here when she's in my arms has been #1 priority.